We're here at the 5th Annual Madrid Energy Conference and very pleased to have a chance to speak with Carlos Moreira from EDP. Hi, Carlos.
Hi, Jeremy.
Your second year at the Madrid Energy Conference.
Yes, and it's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me to be back.
We love your perspectives and it's great to have you. And this is about Europe and Latin America energy dialogue. Obviously EDP based in Lisbon, a Portuguese company with footprint around the region, obviously the hemisphere and in Iberia. So look, you just finished a very interesting panel, and you manage particularly electromobility and EVs. Just like last year, there's something that struck me that I want to have you comment upon in this sort of post-panel discussion interview here is, we almost had two conversations on the panel. And what I mean is, there was another gentleman from Spain, and so there was the European conversation around electrons and energy security and energy transition, and then there was the Latin American conversation with some discussion about Argentina, some discussion about Colombia and Mexico. And this is the same thing that happened, like I said, for the last 2 years. And so what I'd like to have you follow up a little bit on is, how do we bring those conversations together? Because that's what this event's all about, right? Whether it's lessons learned, bridging that gap, and not just in terms of electromobility, but the broader question of the panel of delivering more electrons for the energy transition.
Jeremy, I think it's a great question and a lot of food for thought. And I think it touches upon one of the things that we actually discussed on the panel, which is the challenge of the electrification of the energy transition. It's not Portugal, Spain, Argentina, or Mexico one, it's a global one. So we do need to tackle it, we do need the conversations to merge, and we do need the reality to merge. And if I think about how can we make that in a practical way, I see three things. I think the first one is walk the talk, is with the example. I think that if we show that it's possible to electrify the consumption, if we show that it's possible to make the investments in the grid, and in the end have a win-win-win value proposition, that it's good for the economy, it's good for consumers, and it's good for the environment, I think by setting the example, we are bridging the conversations and creating the incentives. I think the second one, not least important, is we are learning throughout the process. And I think that there's a lot about the conversations, and today I think we had good insights on that, on best practice, what works and what doesn't work, what different models have worked in a given context, and there is no silver bullet. So having a diverse set of experience across different countries, Portugal, Spain, in Europe, that then which countries of America can look and say, this is more close to my context, so I think this is the one that works. I think that is a very good added value from these conversations. And the third one that I wouldn't also minimize in terms of importance is we've discussed some of the barriers for bringing more electrons is the cost of the investment. And I'm thinking very specifically on electric vehicles. The cost of the batteries, the storage, the cost of the car, that's one of the biggest barriers today across most markets. But as we, more advanced economies like Europe, but not only North America, Asia, build that extra demand, we are seeing a decline in the costs.
The
cost of the batteries are going down. Today, solar is already the cheapest energy source available when you put together the levelized cost of energy. So by creating that market, creating that manufacturing capability, that engineering know-how that brings additional efficiency, I think that we're also creating opportunities for Latin America to make this energy transition something that I think it's very important, that is inclusive. That it
we heard a lot about that today, right?
Everyone.
Just inclusive.
Yes. Because I think that no one can be left aside. And the good thing about a lot of what we discuss is we all have wind, sun, and solar, and so there's a lot of things on electrifying, on bringing renewables, on electric cars that I think can be win-win.
So the final thing, which goes back to your last point, really, I heard this, and the countries and the reps and the speakers from Latin America say, we can't do the kinds of fiscal policies, we can't do the kinds of subsidizations because we don't have the budget. But maybe they don't have to? Is that what you're saying?
I think that perhaps in the near term it might come as a trade-off, but when we think about many of the alternatives, they don't have to. Like when you think about solar specifically, of course, in the past Europe has had subsidies for solar energy, and we had even on the auctions guaranteed tariffs. But today we don't need that because solar is as competitive, is very competitive, so we can put that investment in a cost-effective way. That does not mean that in specific moments in time, incentives are not important. They are, and that's where, of course, government and the regulators need to come together to foster the right incentives. But if the cost of batteries, as it is expected, continues to decline by 30 to 40% over the next couple of years, the full car, an electric car will be cheaper than a full car. So do you actually need,
in terms of life
subsidies?
cycle, especially, right?
And especially, even not going to there, even without entering just the cost acquisition, if you put then the life cycle, even more.
Yeah. Well, let's leave it there. We have drinks to get to out here.
Yes.
We'll see you at the 6th Annual Madrid Energy Conference. Carlos Moreira from
Hope
EDP.
so. Jeremy,
Thank
thanks a lot.
you.
Thanks.